All right, we're live.
Yay.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
Well, welcome everyone, all that are going to join us, and those that will watch to come. And tonight we're excited to visit with Stephanie Lawhorn, and she is a wonderful artist. I can't wait for you to talk to her and get to meet her. Um, the love of the Lord just pours out of her in all of her artwork. And anyway, I just want her to introduce herself. And before that, I will explain I am Misty Chladek, and I'm the owner and founder behind Community of Christian Creatives. And it's an incredible community of creatives and makers from all over the world. And God just is bringing them all together. And just really supportive and encouraging there. So, welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you.
We
Thank
finally
you.
worked out some technical issues. Yay.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask if we can start by you just sharing a little bit about who you are and the things that you do and the things that you enjoy about what you do, just a little bit about you. That'd be great.
I'm an artist and art teacher out of Texas in the Dallas area. I've been teaching art for only 2.5 years. Before that, I was a science teacher actually for a long time.
Wow.
I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm very busy, as we all are. I've only been pursuing my art professionally for the past 2 years, and what God has chosen to do with it still seems unreal to me. But isn't that just like Him to make it so unfathomable that it just seems He lets you know that it's Him doing it. I am self-taught. I did not go to art school. My grandma likes to say I'm self-taught, but God inspires. And I like that. But yeah, I mean, I think the most wonderful thing about being able to do this is when you're a Christian and you are an artist, people are more likely to go into an art museum or to an art show than they are to church. And so it gives you a very unique opportunity to reach people that you wouldn't otherwise reach. And that's been probably the most awe-inspiring thing out of all of this. I'm so amazed by what He's doing with my art.
That's awesome.
It blows my mind. I'll try not to get teary. It's pretty amazing. So.
Wow. I love seeing what He does like that. It's like giving me the vision for the community, that something I never thought I'd be doing. I'm just an artist, starting back and doing art. I'm like, what? So this whole other idea. And He just, when I say took over, I mean, He just started bringing people from all over. So like what you were saying, whenever He gives you that vision for it and He gives you the desire for it, and you just flow with Him and follow Him, He works that together. It's really exciting.
Yeah.
So do you have like testimonies of how like you've done art for people, like commissions and things like that, where you've seen it impact them then?
Probably the biggest impacts I've seen have been actually on social media. Being able to have that as a platform, like my Instagram. I never had an Instagram until my friends told me, hey, you're making art. You should get an Instagram. And I'm like, but I got off of social media. So
that's great.
I think I do create commissions quite regularly. People are drawn to my art not just because of the way it looks, but also because of the inspiration behind it. But the wonderful things and the things that really help me realize that this is Him, this is His, is the little things that come through. On Instagram, primarily, I get communication from all over the world.
Wow.
Just people being moved by pieces and by my, well, not my, it's him, by his words
Yeah.
pouring out of me. And as you can see, I'm a
Yeah.
teacher, but I stumble when I have to talk. But when I can put something in writing, there's something about that, being able to put it in writing, make it concrete. It's God uses that. And so, yeah, I think the little communications, these little seeds that are continually planted by the posts and by this outpouring of interest, that's
It's
probably the
humbling.
part that it's very humbling. It's very
Yeah,
humbling.
it
That's a good word for it. So, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
is. That's awesome. So you said you're also a teacher. I think
I
that
am.
to me is like amazing. So you teach art too, but you
I do.
didn't go to school for art. See, I
Mm-mm.
always thought it had to be that way, actually. So that's not exactly the case.
I'm definitely not the norm. Again, I see God's hand in so much. It's
awesome.
interesting.
Yeah.
I was a science teacher for a long time, and my mom was an artist, but she was a freelance artist and she was self-taught. And so I always grew up in a creative home, but you're that child who thinks, oh, I'm going to grow up and be an artist, and then real life happens and you're like, well, that's kind of an unreasonable dream, and so I'll do something else that seems more realistic. So I was a science teacher, and I took a break from teaching to have my children. And then I felt compelled to go ahead and get back into the school system when my younger son was around 3. And thinking, I'm just going to sub for a little while. Well, God pushed me right back in. I had 8 interviews that summer, and I was like, okay, this is definitely what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So again, I went into the district and started teaching science. Swore I'd never go back and teach middle school. But that's where God pulled my heart at that time. And 1 year after that, I taught science for 1 year, and my principal came and was like, we have an opening for art, and you're an effective teacher, and you're kind of creative. I was like,
you're like,
oh, okay.
You're like,
so I transitioned to art, and it's been a ride. It's a very different world to go from teaching a core content subject to one that is very free, and kids express themselves so easily. It's a different world, and never in that, even at that time when I changed over, I didn't think, oh, well, I'm going to start creating my own art. Again, you walk, I still wasn't creating at that time. But you walk by those aisles in Hobby Lobby. We have Hobby Lobby
drawn to, yes.
Yes, there's always been that pull to the canvases and to the paints, and like, well, I don't have a reason to go down there, so I'm not. That's silly, God. Why would I do that? And so probably about 6 months into my first year teaching art, I had a really dear friend ask me, "Hey, you're an artist, you're an art teacher. I need some abstract art." Like, well, okay. So I had a reason. Awesome. I had a reason then to go into the canvas aisle and go into the paint aisle. No clue what I was doing. And I created abstract art for the very first time. Wow. And I just fell in love with it. And it was really after that I started to see how God was going to use that in this journey. And it's been very fast, and it's been very quick. And it's very humbling, very awe-inspiring, very unreal a lot of times. I am so normal. I am so normal. I am just, it's him. It's him.
Yeah.
So.
Well, when you started, doing art, that was you just went straight up into commissions then. So
Did. Within,
wow.
I made my first post for these abstract pieces that I was making for my friend, and
Mhm.
I got bombarded by people interested in pieces of art and commissions. And my first commission was a giant, like
Wow.
36 by 48. I'm going,
Don't
an
start
abstract
small.
piece. Like, I've never created anything this big, but sure, I can do it.
I love it.
So, um,
That's awesome.
but God protects the fools,
Yes.
and it worked out, and He continues to guide me and lead me, and close doors
Amen.
when they need to be closed, and
Yes.
um, opens doors that terrify me, like this, um,
Right?
and I trust what He's telling me.
Exactly.
Most of the time, I try.
Yeah.
I'm very stubborn.
I do understand that one too. It's like we say yes, and then sometimes the struggle hits. It's like, we start questioning, and I was reminded about that recently where we trials. I think I wrote a blog post on that actually recently, but it was such a huge eye opener too, reminding me that where David, uh, he had been given all these promises by the Lord, and then he was running for his life, and then all of his men then wound up turning against him, and he had absolutely no one. And
Mhm.
what did he do? It says that he encouraged himself in the Lord. And but we hear that and we're like, well, what does that look like, right? It's that he began to recount the blessings of the Lord. He began to talk about how good God is, and all these things. And the person that I heard speaking about this a little bit, and it just was really in my face, was because he was saying sometimes we say, Lord, I don't get it. We start asking Lord questions like, instead of saying, you're good,
Mhm.
you're always good. Instead of recounting the blessings of the Lord and talking about the goodness of the Lord, sometimes we start to ask questions, and it's like we don't even realize that's doubt, these little bitty things of doubt,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so easy to just let it come out of your mouth or like in your thinking. I've done it
Mhm.
way too many times. Yeah,
Yes. I mean, there's
exactly.
days where it's just minute to minute. Um,
Yes.
there's
Especially a mom, you're busy, you're a teacher, you're like, "Ooh."
school
Yeah,
year's a little bit crazy.
yeah.
So,
That's awesome. I was gonna ask you, whenever it comes to being an artist, because I know it's probably easier to explain to someone that you're an art teacher,
mhm.
like, when you talk about art, but if you talk to them about the kind of things that you do, like art, do you ever have, like, any struggles or challenges where well, because you're a teacher, they would see that, "Well, you have a job, you have a regular job, okay," you know? So but as an artist, if you were just doing art, do you ever have to explain the kinda art you do or anything like that, or, like, abstract or anything? Yeah.
Um, I don't find abstract art is very popular in the Dallas area, so I don't
Oh,
find
that's
that I
good.
have to. Yes. Um, obviously, it's very popular.
Yes.
I don't find I have to explain the style of my art necessarily.
Mhm.
But what I feel like I struggle with the most, or what, um, yeah, we'll call it that I struggle with the most is when you're an art teacher, you are very used to sharing the children's art, other people's art, talking about
Oh, sure.
their inspirations, and
Mhm.
being proud of them and putting them on a pedestal because you're so proud of them. And when you teach middle school, their self-confidence is so low,
Wow.
um, that
Yeah.
you imagine yourself as a middle school kid. It's not a very
Right?
easy, age on our self-confidence.
Yeah.
But when I present myself as an artist,
Mhm.
oftentimes the struggle I have is that I will get so choked up if I really pour my heart into explaining what certain pieces mean. Um,
Mhm.
I was at an art show called The Sacred Stories of Light, about 45 minutes away
Ah.
from here, and
Mhm.
it was an amazing show, and I struggled a little bit with it at the beginning, whether or not I wanted to be a part of it, because it wasn't just Christians in the
Yes.
show.
Sure.
You had Hindu, you had Islamic, you had
Wow. Yeah.
yogis. I've learned what a yogi is.
Yes.
I'm learning about all of these different faith walks. Well, being part of
Mm-hmm.
that show, I was talking to my mom about it. I couldn't have Christianity not represented in that show.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
once again, God said, well, I want you to speak too
You're like,
about your art. And I'm like, right. So, I think I told you earlier, I feel my mom and I are very close, and she was likening me to Moses. I was like, Mom, I need my Aaron. Like, I
Yeah.
need Aaron. I need someone to go speak for me. She said, no, God, this is why you get put in these positions, because this is when you learn to lean on him. He's not just going to put you where you're comfortable. So again, I'm up at this show, and they ask, we want each artist to come speak about their inspiration, and automatically get that knot in your stomach, and you're like, how am I going to put something so near and dear to my heart into words? But what I found is so often when you are authentic in your inspiration and where it comes from, you may stumble over your words, as I do often when talking about my own art, but your heart is so apparent. And that's what moves people. Yeah,
Yes, they see the joy, they see the passion and the love for the Lord in you, and that is what draws them.
yes,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
because I'm not the most affluent public speaker. I tend to avoid having my face on many posts, and but again, I want it to be about him. I don't want it to be about me. Although my hands are all over my pages.
Fuzzy hands, yes.
They're not very pretty.
Oh.
But anyway.
But they do lovely things, so that's good.
Yes, manicures are out of the question for me.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah. It's funny, like you mentioned about not showing your face, because as far as like how I am in the community, and that was a big struggle for me as well. I'm like, it's all about you. I don't want them to focus on me.
Yes.
And it was hard. I remember whenever I first did like a live video, and that was whenever I started the website and everything. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and I went live. People were like, that's what you look like. I'm like, hi, it was hard.
I get it.
Yeah.
Completely.
I was like, okay, I'm all right. But yeah, and it's actually gotten a lot easier, like doing the interviews and things like that. So it takes a little practice, and it's funny because I don't think of it the same way anymore. Um, I had written a book a handful of years ago, and I felt the same way about that. I'm like, I don't want to talk about myself. And a good friend of mine who was actually they wrote the preface of the book, and her and her husband. And she said, well, Misty, it's your testimony, so you kind of have to talk about you. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm like, but I didn't talk about myself. So I think it's part of like being an introvert sometimes, like introverts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm very much that, which is why I was completely off of social media for a little while. Yeah. And then that just changed very drastically. So
yes.
But again, you learn to lean on him whenever you're uncomfortable.
This is true. Well, he shines through you, even whenever you just kind of like hide. So you're okay. You're good. It's okay. I was going to ask you about like whenever you create, and I know I asked you this question like in questions before, but when you create and you spend time like painting and all of that, how do you encounter the Lord like in your creativity?
It varies. I mean, it honestly, it depends on the stage I'm at in my life, what's going on in my surroundings at the moment. Sometimes I am just drawn to specific colors and I don't know why. And then messages are revealed throughout the creation of pieces. Oftentimes after I finish a piece, I will go into scripture at that point and I'll be looking at that piece going, what is he trying to say?
Yeah.
I don't go in to pieces in the beginning going, well, I'm going to create a piece about, something specific.
Yeah.
So many times the message comes later.
Exactly.
But what's interesting is after I do create pieces that are not commissions, obviously, or there are some other pieces I create for a little gallery in Destin that tie my love of the ocean in, which anything having to do with water. There's so much symbolism with water, obviously so much. But then also I wanted to be a marine biologist. That was my second dream.
Wow,
So it ties the two together for God to be able to use two loves to have that door open was awesome. But yeah, so many of my abstract pieces specifically, I go dig into scripture after their creation, and I don't know if that's normal, but that's what I do. Because I so feel and know that this is his path and not mine. Again, that really became very obvious as this journey has continued on. This is not my choice. This is exactly what he planned for me all along. And it's hard. And, when you pour your heart into your creations, you're making yourself very, you're exposed. You feel very exposed. And so to expose myself that way and all of my imperfections and my insecurities, but my hope is that these works of art and these posts that I make help people realize that how loved they are, how loved they are by the Creator, how you can go out and you can see all these beautiful things that he creates, and the colors and the lines and the movement and the textures of all of these things that he creates. But of all those things, he loves and created you. He loves you most. Like, you are his perfect creation. He created you in his image. And it's just such a reminder for me, and I hope that through my art people feel that too, that they're loved, and not just an earthly love, a divine love that's very different than anything we can imagine on earth. So
that's good. It was really good. There was something that you were sharing that's made me think of something at the beginning when you were talking about how you don't always have like this, I say plan, you don't have like this word, this, something before you start. I know what you're saying. And like whenever I paint, I paint as I see it and like what he's showing me at that time. But actually I was thinking about how that would be really powerful. It's a confirmation for you, like again and again and again. And that would be very strong, and where you create with him and then he gives you what that was, and or what this is that you've created and the meaning behind it. And that would be very powerful. And like you said, I know a lot of artists that do, like the Lord gives them something and then they go create after that. But it's really powerful too, not having that first, and it's just trust, trusting him and just walking it out. And it's also, whenever you engage with him and you're creating with him, it's just like a love walk. It's like your relationship with him is what is on the canvas. And that's why it's so powerful too, because you're creating with him and what he shows you as you're going along. So.
Well, and there's been so much symbolism for me in
Mm-hmm.
the creation of. I have so many pieces that looked horrible, where you just. But I think every artist could say that. Where
Yeah.
where you try so hard to control
Yes.
what it is you're trying to create. Well, that's not how God designed me to create.
Right.
And so when I feel like he has to throw a rock at my head a lot of times until I'll listen.
I was like,
But I mean, so many times with these big abstract pieces, if you could only see from,
wow.
maybe I should do that at some point, from the beginning to end, the process that I go through,
Right.
because so many times I start off with
Oh,
this
it changes.
um,
Yeah.
big, grand idea. Again, starting with an idea doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
That I'll take my palette knife and just go over the whole thing and just like wipe out. It's like taking a clean slate. I tried to control it way too much, just like we try to control our own lives way too much.
Yeah.
Instead of just trusting that he's going to lead us and open doors, and he's going to close doors, and he's going to be quiet, and he's not going to answer sometimes, no matter how hard we bang on certain doors. But yeah, the symbolism of really just having too much control over a piece and it not coming out how you imagine, and then letting go, giving it to him, and it becomes something that you didn't even fathom in the beginning. That's almost the process I go through with every single big abstract piece that I create. But then there's also pieces that I'll finish them and I'm like, oh, well, that's pretty, and I don't really feel that connection to the piece. I always feel connected to the process of the piece, and maybe like you said, that's that. Yeah. I love the creation, but once it's done, it's like, okay, this is meant to be somebody else's. But there are some pieces that I've created that don't speak to me, for lack of a better word. I know kind of what the inspiration was, but then within minutes, most of the time, I will get some sort of message or two or three on social media and saying, oh my gosh, this piece spoke to me. And that's when you know that
you were hearing.
Like this message was not meant for me. This was meant for somebody else. And again, to have that this platform, I mean, social media, I have a love-hate relationship with it. Again, being a middle school teacher, I have a love-hate relationship.
Yes.
But there's so many positives to it too. And so to have that platform to plant those seeds, to share truth, is a very awesome opportunity. But yeah, I love it when that happens. I love it when a piece doesn't speak to me, but so closely connects to somebody else. It's kind of that like do 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 do, like kind of makes me think of that, like, whoa, okay, that's awesome. So
yes, I was just thinking, like, sometimes those pieces that we're like really not fond of, that come out, in a different way than we pictured in our minds, or like, it's like, this isn't what I thought it would look like. Even those like speak to certain people too.
Yes.
And the tendency would be like, I'm not even going to put that anywhere where someone can see it, the kind of feeling. And then it's like we're reminded, oh yeah, this has nothing to do with me. And it's all about you loving others through what they're seeing and all too. Good. That's good. Okay. I was going to ask you, so your favorite ways to create so far?
So far. I mean, I love to paint. I love color. I love texture, which is funny because if you look at my house, it's very neutral. I don't dress in bright colors. I'm I don't dye my hair. Like I wear very little makeup.
Right.
But my art is very bright most of the time. I've been trying to restrict myself a little bit and to pull into some neutrals because it challenges me.
Sure.
But lately, and I don't know if it's just because the process of creating these abstract pieces is very, for lack of a better word, it's chaotic. It's very chaotic. It's very fast, especially the ones that are just complete texture. It's a very fast process, and
Wow.
and so my life right now is so fast and so full
Yeah.
and so busy.
Yeah.
There's very little downtime, very little quiet. Even in my classroom, kids are chatty.
Yes,
When
I
you've got
bet.
class sizes of 32 plus, I mean, and there's multiple of them, it's a
Oh,
very loud, busy day.
yes.
And so more
Wow.
recently, I have felt this need to go back and try to learn how to draw and just really enjoy
Yes.
the process of drawing.
Oh,
Um,
that's great.
I used to hate drawing. Like, I'm terrible because I'm a
Yeah.
perfectionist, and so like, no, it doesn't look perfect,
Yep.
and so I can't do
Mhm.
it. Um, but
That's
I have
good.
felt such a pull to go back in and start drawing, and it could be that my students are inspiring me in that way because they
Good.
want to know how to draw. And
Mhm.
I'm like, well, then I better learn how. But
Sorry, that's funny.
but
So I can help you. I better get that one down. Yeah.
let me figure this out, and I'll teach you. Um,
That's awesome.
but like I said, I didn't
Yes.
go to art school, so this whole process has been very humbling for me. But what I have discovered through this process of drawing is that I've learned to really love um, the slowness of it and the fact that you can erase
Oh,
it so easily.
yes.
um, but it's slow and it's precise and
Mhm.
it takes practice, and that's
Yeah.
been when you're loosely painting, not to say that doesn't take practice, because it
Yeah.
does. Just trying to learn to work with the tools, but there's something different about
It's very freeing.
pencil.
Yeah.
It's just
Compared to that.
so, yes, it's
Mhm.
so different, and so I'm really coming to love it, and I kind of feel like
Mhm.
I'm wanting to pull more of these techniques now into my work to
Mhm.
incorporate, like, how does God want me to use this newfound love of drawing
Right.
um, in abstract work. And so um, you know it's been a process trying to
Yeah.
you know I don't know. I never would have described myself as loving drawing, being like, no, hate that. But then, then I found I was at an art show. Oh, I guess it was a week ago.
Mhm.
Anyways, I was in an art show about a week ago, and there was this piece that someone had submitted, and it was a mother and child graphite drawing. And so automatic, I mean, being a mom myself, you're
Mhm.
drawn to those, and it
Sure.
was so beautifully done. Um, and so I go up to look at it, and at the very bottom, and this is a gallery in Dallas, I was so
Mhm.
thrilled. At the very bottom was a scripture from Jeremiah,
Okay.
and I don't have it memorized yet, but I did
Mhm.
save it on my Bible app. Um, and,
Yes.
but it just, I was like, oh gosh, it no. I do need to rate it, but still. Um, oh, I can't find it. Bookmarks. There we go. Um, Jeremiah 31:3, the Lord appeared to us in the past, saying, I have loved you with an everlasting love. I have drawn you with unfailing kindness. Um,
Wow.
like God He's the creator. He is the
Yes.
creator. And we are created in His image. So we're all creative in our own way. We're just afraid to tap into it sometimes. But to really um, I'm obviously, we're all very visual. We're all creative.
Yes.
Um, but to have that visual of God with a pencil in His hand, not that he would have a pencil, but like, that's what I imagine, like him having this pencil in his hand and lovingly, because that process is so slow. And so you are just, in my case, staring at a reference picture and just in awe of the lines and angles and shapes that you see. It is a loving process to draw someone or something. So to imagine God drawing us with an unfailing kindness, it's like, that's just an amazing thing to imagine for me. So yes, I've been drawn to drawing lately.
That's awesome.
So anyways, and I have a million sketchbooks that I've never used, and now they're getting used. So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's really good. It's because I don't want to do comparisons, and at the same time, I'm really blown away because I haven't been picking up the pencil like but the Lord's been putting on my heart to begin drawing again, and I think that's interesting because I did that so much as a child, and I took drawing lessons and all this stuff, and somehow over the years it got put down.
Yeah,
and I think the one thing that I can say out of drawing, and even doing that growing up, is that it created a foundation for like design, like for your mind's eye, like I don't know, being able to draw. It's like I could teach someone else, like even the very basics of the things that I learned, because of drawing, and it's like a foundation piece. And so many artists I know, draw before they paint, and I don't normally do that, but I'm like, no, I'm good. Especially if I do abstract, and then it's free and it's wonderful. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, there's a lot of foundation, and it's so interesting because I think that the Lord has been drawing us to foundation and just drawing us to Him and being quiet and being alone with Him, all of these things. And really, that's like your foundation with art too, is the drawing. And He doesn't want to leave anything left, undone. It's like He is doing that with you. He's like, He's taught you this part and this part. It's not normally like, well, it needs to be in this order. I need to be taught this way. But He's doing it the way He's teaching you and leading you. That's just awesome.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
And you should pick up your pencil again.
Yes, I should. Yes, I should. I think I need to find I know I'm like this. I need to find the right pencil. Like the right pencil, the right eraser, and I'm like, okay, then I'm good. Yeah.
I just discovered a wonderful thing.
Yes.
I'm going to make sure the brand is not showing. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that or not. And again, I'm learning things as I go. It's a pencil eraser with a brush on the end.
Awesome.
My son, my younger son, thinks this is way fun. Yes. Because he sweeps all
the page, yeah.
Yes. I'm like, no, honey, go one direction, not both.
That's awesome. Yeah, I like using the little clicker eraser. Like it's the tube. Those are wonderful. And also like the rubber eraser, not rubber eraser. What is it? The gum erasers.
The gum eraser.
Gum eraser, where it's like a piece of clay. You can make it whatever shape you want it to be. And
the kneading erasers.
Yes.
Is it the kneading one?
Yeah. Those are good.
They're like a toy in themselves.
They are. I'm like, that's therapy.
Yes. I agree.
Great. That's good. Okay. I was going to ask you, your family. Besides you, and you said your mom is very creative, and is she still creative? Other people in your family creative? Or?
She is. What's funny? We call ourselves split brain because she's highly creative. She stayed home when I was growing up, and she was a freelance artist, and she did everything from murals to painting on church tapestries to stained glass to,
That's
pretty much
exciting.
anything. She illustrated a book. It was just kind of like everything. chalkboards at the grocery store.
Oh,
But
sure.
so she has funny memories of me going up and she was painting a landscape on one of those old saws, the two-sided saws.
Mhm.
And I went in the garage and scratched a tic-tac-toe onto her painting, little child that I was.
Like, what? Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, she fixed it, but she loves that story. But no, my mom is still, she's a math teacher now. And
Wow.
so that's why we call ourselves that kind of split brain, because
Yes.
we can be that like math science, but then we
Mhm.
have our creative side. She still creates. My brother and sister they're creative in their own ways. My sister can decorate a house to the nine. She's a nurse practitioner, but she she makes wreaths. She has made crosses. Her homes are always beautiful. It's that interior design kind of. I need to
Mhm.
just hire her to come do my house, because I have no desire to do that.
Right.
My brother is, golly, he's an engineer, and very
Mhm.
typical engineer. Terrible at small talk, but can talk engines all day. But
That's great.
he takes old engine parts, and he has made lamps, and he has made sculptures with them to give as gifts. And
Wow.
we're like, you could sell these. He's like, nah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
just, they're for the fun of it. My husband was he's in construction, so he was a home builder for a long time. He's built everything. He
Really.
works on old cars, and all of that is creative. I think
Mhm.
when you label yourself as an artist, so many people just automatically think of painting and drawing and sculpting, clay.
Right.
Um, but there's so many more avenues to be
Mhm.
creative.
Exactly. Like, whether it's in the
So,
kitchen or I
yeah, a
mean,
chef like cooks,
yes,
culinary, that's
exactly.
very, very creative. Not something I'm very good at.
Oh,
So,
it takes well, I like to play in the kitchen. I don't know. It's funny, my sister says I can come up with anything. I'm like, "Oh, no, I just throw things together." But,
awesome. I love that.
I thought it was interesting what you mentioned about, like, the whole decorating thing. I can relate 100%. I have a twin sister, and I always
Mm.
think of her as the interior decorator.
Mhm.
Um, and but she doesn't consider herself, like, creative as much, but she's learning that she is creative, in different
Yes.
ways, and yeah, I love that. God is, like, really moving on people's hearts to create and to create with Him and to see Him as the creator that's, you know, um, He makes them creative.
Mhm.
Uh, I love that. It's like He's waking that up. I really
Yeah.
believe that. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and like you said, a lot of people say, "Well, I'm not an artist." That
Mhm.
doesn't mean you're
Mhm.
not creative or a maker. And I know that's, makers who are like, I'm a maker, I'm not creative. I'm like, whatever. Okay. You're still creative.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, there's that stigma with saying you're an artist. It's like,
Yeah.
well,
I don't paint. Well, so.
it doesn't matter. Or like if I'm out and I have to have another teacher cover my class, they'll look at me with this panic, like, well, I can't draw.
Oh,
I'm like,
wow.
well, number one, nobody's asking you to. Um, but,
Right.
but number two, I see what you do.
Yeah,
Um, and creativity takes many forms. So,
that's right. That's good. Okay. I'm trying to like stay on track with some of the questions that we were going to do. But oh,
sorry.
no, no, this is good. This is what I prayed for. So see, whenever the Lord just leads us, it's just like it's relaxing, it's fun, and that's what it should be. What is what do you feel like God is calling you to, like in this season? I know you talked a little bit about that already, but
Yeah. I mean, when all this took off for me a couple years ago, I maybe I'm I'm very impulsive. I'm a very impulsive natured person, very restless spirited. And when everything started to happen, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to be a full-time artist, and my husband
Ah.
is very
Yep.
much the one that grounds me. And he's like, oh, Stephanie, how he's trying to explain out the finances into all of it. I'm like, no, it'll be fine. No, it won't. Um, but uh, but
Yes.
what was revealed to me in that time, though, when it was very obvious that that door was not going to open, that with all of these, I don't know what to call it. I mean, I can still call it a newfound interest and inspirations. Um, I feel like he's leading me to teach
Mhm.
right now. And when you're when I should say myself, if I were a full-time artist, I'm very selfish. I'm very selfish natured. I want it to be all about me. And if I were a full-time artist, it would be very hard for me, I feel like, to have the focus not shift from his glory to
Oh, I
mine.
know what you're saying.
Um,
Yeah,
so like, oh, look at all of this that I'm doing. Look at all
I
these
know.
shows. Look at all these exhibitions. Look at all these publications. Like,
Mhm.
look at what I'm doing.
Right.
But when you teach, it's not about you.
Mhm.
It can't be about you.
Right.
It's very humbling to be a teacher because kids have no filter, no matter what age they are.
Right.
And so when right now in this season, I think that's where he needs me. And I'm not going to lie and say I don't bucket constantly, because as
Mhm.
much as I love my students, even the ones that drive me up the wall, um,
Right.
all 180 of them,
Yeah.
but as much as I love them, it it is a stressful environment to be in all the time.
Right.
Um, but I still feel like that's where he needs me right now. And so I'm
Mhm.
kind of in this period of time right now where I'm struggling a little bit to be content with where he wants me.
Yes.
And I mean, maybe that's everybody, but yeah, this season right now, I feel like that's where he needs me. He needs me in the classroom in some capacity. Um, Now, how he's going to use that, I don't know. Um, doesn't mean I have to stay at the school I'm at, but yes, teaching in general is where I feel called right now, and using these skills and being that light. I'm a public school teacher too, and so I don't teach at a
Totally
private
different.
school.
Yeah.
I may eventually teach at a private school, because that in itself creates a completely different
Yeah.
environment, when I can openly speak about my faith and the connection that art can
Mhm.
have and the platform that it can create for his
Mhm.
glory.
Right.
Um, I would love to be able to do that, but when you're a public school teacher, um, you, you need to be that light. There's a lot of wonderful kids,
Mhm.
um, that, that need that strong adult
Yeah.
that is, and we can't go around saying I am a Christian, but we'll get in trouble.
Wow.
Um, but you don't have to go and pronounce yourself as a
No.
Christian for people to know. They're just going to
Yeah.
know.
They will.
Um, so,
Mhm.
anyways, so yeah, I mean, in this season, as much as I love to be full-time artist, it's just not where he has me right now. Maybe someday,
Yeah.
but but again, I I know that if that were my only job,
Mhm.
uh, it would not be good for my personality.
Gotcha.
Um, so, anyways,
It's so
yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Um, I've talked to other artists that like what you're talking about, they struggle with that. You know, I have a dear friend that has talked about that. I mean, she wound up giving all of her artwork away, and um, she has such a beautiful heart. And I see other people talk about it too, like it's, um, it's like they struggle between, I don't want it to be about me. I want them to see all of him and not me.
Mm-hmm.
And, um, and at the same time, something that the Lord continually has to remind me as an introvert is He's like, but you have to speak so they will hear.
Yeah.
You have to be there. Otherwise, they won't see the light. They won't see my arms, my hands, my love. And um, many times I'd like to just kind of like, you know,
Yes.
I hide out in my little space,
Yep.
and it's easy for me to stay in that place. And I know you know what I'm talking about, and
Yes,
it's
I do. Yes. Yes.
but
I like my alone
yeah,
time.
I'm like, that doesn't bother me at all. I'm fine. Thanks.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
am great. Oh, you
that's
only
great.
knew how many times I just was like in the teacher's lounge by myself, and the teachers will come in and they're all chatty and they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yes,
Like,
I really am okay. Really, I'm good." So
that's awesome. They're
anyway,
like, well, before you came in,
yeah,
at 5
exactly.
minutes, it was wonderful. Um,
That's awesome. So,
okay, so let's see. I know I was going to ask you, is it costly to be an artist? Do you find it to be costly to be an artist? And that could be like however many different ways, I guess.
yeah, I mean, I think it depends on
Hmm.
how like for instance, depends on the medium that you use. Um, my big textured abstracts can get I mean, they can get pretty expensive
Oh, sure.
because of the
Hmm.
amount of paint. I mean, they
Yeah.
weigh 50 pounds when I'm done with them. Um,
Wow.
but not
That's heavy.
literally
I was
50
like, really?
pounds, but they weigh a lot. um,
Yeah.
but anyways, I think it depends on the medium. Certain mediums last longer than others. But then just the cost of being an artist. If you want to get your art out
Mhm.
there, then there's fees, show
Right.
fees, registration fees, exhibition
Mhm.
fees, and a lot of times with these fees, I mean, I'm a competitive person, and so I enter art
Uh-huh.
shows and all of this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And
Yeah.
if I didn't, that would save me some money. But you enter
Yeah.
these competitions and you pay, but you
Mhm.
don't always get chosen.
No.
And so then I've quote unquote wasted money. Um,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's a story all in itself. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's fees along with shows, and there's
Mhm.
also website fees. Even
Yes.
yeah, even Etsy, to be on Etsy
Mhm.
it costs something, and you pay a fee every
Mhm.
month depending on um, how many pieces, how many listings you have in your shop. Um,
Right.
if you're part of the gallery, then they collect a fee. Even if
Sure.
a piece sells, then they collect a percentage of it.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, go to the artist, go directly to the artist, then you're not paying the
Yeah.
fees.
This
Um,
is true. I mean, and then there's the cost of, like, getting the framing or whatever,
yes,
if you do that. Yeah.
all of that shipping. Oh gosh, they know me really well at FedEx. Um,
That's good.
shipping all costs money, all of the packing
Yeah.
material that goes with it, all of the marketing, anything with the business cards and the signs. But again, like
Mhm.
it it depends on how much you want to get yourself out there. The more you get yourself out there, the more
Mhm.
expensive it can be. If you're just
Right.
creating for yourself, um, and sharing it on social media,
Mhm.
then that's not as costly, I guess, just depending on
Right.
the mediums. Canvases are really expensive. Paper's not as expensive.
Paint. Yeah.
Paint, I've
Mhm.
really been drawn to creating on wood surfaces lately,
Yeah.
which I love the rigidity of it, but
Yeah.
they're expensive, more expensive than a canvas.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it really, you kind of create your own path in that way.
Mhm.
It just depends. It can be less expensive or very expensive. Set yourself up a little savings account.
That's a smart
Have a
idea.
business
Yeah.
account.
Mhm.
Have a separate business account. Just, because then
It's
you're
important.
very, it
Yeah.
really is, and you can
Mhm.
more easily track what's going in, what's coming out. Just don't just put it into your personal account.
No, it's
Um,
kinda safe to have a business account, I mean,
mhm.
for taxes and everything, yes. That
Definitely, definitely. Something again that I had to learn. Small business owner and me, that still is just like
like, "What?"
mind
Yeah,
blowing. No, not something I ever dreamed for myself.
right.
So, something he dreamed for me.
Isn't that
But
exciting? I'm like, yeah, I do understand that part too.
yeah.
Yeah, the business part. I feel like there's still plenty that I know I need to learn myself, it's like that
Mhm.
takes time. And I think it's interesting, lots of artists that I meet, it's funny, I don't know if it's just like our creative minds or what, but if we didn't have to deal with it, like with the financial
Oh
part
yeah.
of it, that would be awesome. Just
Yes.
create and then they sell themselves and it'd be
Yes, it
great.
would be great. It would be great. No, and I mean, I'm at that
Yeah.
point now where my husband's going, okay, you need to start collecting all your tax stuff. I'm going, oh,
Oh,
no, because he,
yes.
he is a wonderful man that is very financially smart. And so we've been married for, oh gosh, 13 years, I think.
Right.
Um, we are actually the couple that forgets our anniversary every year.
That's
So
fun.
it's just a day.
Yeah.
But anyways, he handles our finances. And so learning, and I'm okay with that role. Like he's great at it. I trust him completely. Um, so for me to learn the business side of things and him say, well, he has an LLC. Like, um,
Mhm.
he can help me, and
Yeah.
he does.
Yeah.
Um, but for me to learn that, it's like, I don't want to learn that. Well, no, Stephanie, you're collecting money. You have to learn that.
Like, oh,
Okay, I don't wanna.
yeah.
um, but
Yeah.
again, it's that side that's just like bucking everything. No, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Um, but anyways, yes,
You're
you can
encouraging
tell
us.
I'm
Thank
very
you.
stubborn. I'm very stubborn.
You're actually encouraging me. It's like, "Misty, you need to listen." I'm like, "Oh, sorry."
Oh god. Like I said, he has to throw rocks at me to make me
No, not
listen.
too
It's been
hard.
like that since I was a child.
Soft rock.
God.
Oh.
But
So, okay, I wanted to ask you, because you were just talking about some practical steps, actually, so that was really helpful.
oh good.
How do you juggle business and family and social
Oh
life
gosh.
like that?
I mean the mom in me, I
Mhm.
I'm gonna be very transparent. I was in tears about that earlier.
Oh,
With my son being sick right now. One of the hardest roles for me right now is being a working mom because
yeah.
I'm not at home and but my husband is wonderful and because we don't have family in the area, these are the times that we tag team
Mhm.
back and forth.
Yeah.
I lean hard on my husband because we don't have family in the area.
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, to be completely honest, the school year social life kind of takes a back seat.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
my family is always number one.
Mhm.
They I hope they feel it. That mommy
Yeah.
guilt kind of
Mhm.
gives you that doubt
Yeah.
of like, do they really know that they are my priority? Um,
Right.
but so I don't sleep very much. I'm
Yeah.
trying to really learn how to prioritize.
Mhm.
I as much as I would love to paint every night, I can't.
No.
Um, as much as I would love to create every day, I can't. And in the beginning of this journey, I could not figure out how to balance it. And I would make myself sick because it was like this newfound, 35 years of creativity just exploding out onto a canvas. And but now, as not that I'm very new to all of this, but as time goes on, I'm learning more to make sure and practice restraint, essentially, and know that I can't spend all day doing this, creating it. I mean, I know that he's using what I create, but ultimately the priority is what's at home. That is my testimony, is my children. And my marriage is what my kids look at every day. So that really has to be my priority, my number one, as it should be. So yeah, I'm still learning how to prioritize all of that. Just trying to simplify where I can. So
I understand, and it's constantly learning. It's like we readjust and learn and readjust and learn, and I think that's the encouraging part about even doing business is I don't have it down right perfect, but I'm constantly learning, and I know that things will change here and there, and as long as I'm willing to be flexible, which can feel like really, at times.
Yes. Oh, and that, I mean, flexibility is golly, absolutely critical. It really is. Just things are going to happen. Things are going to happen. And you're going to have your tears and you're going to have your moments of guilt. Just like me earlier this evening, struggling with that working mom role and saying, well, I should be the one that's staying home with my children when they're sick, not my husband. I had a mom that stayed home. And so, it again is a role that I'm still learning, and being humbled through. So,
it's that perfectionist part. I think that God constantly is chiseling away in us,
Oh, yeah.
And it's funny because whenever we sit and we just listen to him and we're just quiet, and sometimes that's very hard to make our minds just be very still.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Yes.
So my husband and I did that marriage counseling thing that you have to do before you get married at a church. And so we went to that, and we don't remember anything about it except for except for this one part that he said, and maybe it's a book, but he said that a man's brain is like a waffle and a woman's brain is like a bowl of spaghetti. And I mean, God designed us different. And so, if you imagine a bowl of spaghetti, you've got all these thoughts that are interweaving and connecting constantly. There's no empty space, none at all.
No.
And then he's like, and he was a man, so that made it okay for him to say this. But he's like, but the man is a waffle. And there's empty waffle squares on this waffle where they can really just because they think about one or two things at a time. And because God designed their brains differently. And then you have these empty waffle squares where you can literally think about nothing. And I can honestly say there's never been a period of time in my life where I've thought about nothing. And so we will joke about that, going, I want and just give me one empty waffle square. Please give me one. It must be glorious.
That's awesome. It's I know. Yeah. It's and I think lately for me, and I don't normally do this, but for some reason, the last week, when I've been laying down at night, thoughts going through my head, and I'm like, what is happening here? I'm like, this, let's go stop.
Yes. Well, and then you can't sleep, and you're just like, oh my gosh, just turn off. Turn off. Stop it. Call.
That's awesome. Okay, I don't think I have to ask you this because I think you've been talking about this too, but but like a team of people. I don't think that you have a team of people that work with you specifically, but
I
your husband
don't.
maybe?
I mean, my husband is very supportive.
Yeah.
He, but you mean, he really does leave me to figure things out.
That's
And
beautiful.
I appreciate that. I'm in my own way, I guess I made it very clear in early marriage that
Yeah.
that I was capable of doing things too, that he didn't have to do everything for me, that
Mhm.
um, and so he does. He lets me figure things out.
Yep.
Um,
Mhm.
but then when I need help, he's there. Like tonight, he's taking care of the boys right now, and
Yeah,
so I can do this. But yes, I do this by myself. So
gotcha. But very supportive, and that is
yes,
key. That's so important. I know.
definitely.
Mhm. And I hear that with a lot of artists too, like their families, that they find the support within their families, and
Hmm.
I'm just so thankful. It's like most of the Christian creatives that I've met talk about that because,
Yeah.
um and one of the other things that they talk about is, like, feeling alone, like
Mm.
and that they need the community, they need, like, to
Yeah.
interact with other creatives. I've only done that once, I'm being honest. I've only sat down and created with another artist one other time, and that's really hard,
I don't
like
think I ever have.
right?
Like,
It's very
really?
rare, yeah. Mhm.
Huh.
So it's a
I think
very
I'd be open to it.
yeah,
I
I
had
think so
never
too,
really.
right?
That
Yeah.
would be really cool.
So
I
I think,
think.
I think it would be, but
Mhm.
I think that's where artists tend to, like they're very alone. What they do is very
Mhm.
personal, you know?
Mhm.
Having the support of your family is vital. That they see
Yeah.
what you're doing is something beautiful and creative and that God has
Yeah.
through you.
Well, and I mean, my when my husband and I got married, I was a science teacher. I was
Yes,
teaching biology at the time, and
different than now.
um,
That's
I
all.
guess I was arm deep in dissections. It was awesome. Um,
Wow.
but yeah, always working with my hands, always. And now I'm finger painting. Um, but that that role has been different for him, because we had science in common, and we
Mhm.
still do. Um, he's always called me artsy fartsy,
Yes.
um, even being a scientist and science teacher. I guess he always saw that side of me, and he knew my mom. Um, but yeah, him learning that role, me adjusting to that role of being an artist and
Mhm.
being okay with calling myself that. Like for a while,
Right.
I wouldn't call myself that in front of him, or like my studio space. I wouldn't call it my studio space. I'm just, I don't know. It was a weird kind of identity
Mhm.
shift that I had to go through, and that he, you know, helped me figure out too in his own way.
Yeah,
Um, so
good.
anyway, but
Well, before we come to a close soon, I was gonna ask you, is there any more other encouraging words that you'd wanna share with creatives, about some things that you've learned, like programs, skills, or, like, business-wise, or just spending time with the Lord, or anything that you'd like to share?
oh, I think I said this and maybe in what I have written, but and maybe it's something I struggle with too, but just authenticity, truly
Mhm,
being okay with what you create, what God inspires you to create. Um, I tell my students all the time that because they're I mean, oh God, they're perfectionists. Um, but
yeah,
I'll tell them, like, if
mhm,
all art looked the same, it would be
yeah,
boring.
that's true.
If God wanted everything to look the same, all humans would look the same. All animals would be one type of animal, one type of tree. Um, don't be afraid to be authentic and be you and be different. And he didn't design us to blend in.
Mhm,
He designed us to stand out, and not in like a not in a bad way, not in like a where people are going to be like, oh, you know, but
Yeah.
you know, just like I liken it to, again, a visual of imagining like a zebra in a herd of horses, like
Mhm.
just being that light, shining that light, being okay with how God created you and what He created you to do. And yeah, I mean, as far as the business side goes, a big help for me has been joining various art leagues, various art associations that are in the
Mhm.
area. There's such a huge support system there.
That's awesome.
I can't
Yeah.
talk to I mean, he would talk to me about it, but he doesn't know anything about the arts community.
Mhm.
But there's such an awesome support system in most places. I'm a part of multiple art leagues, and the artists are so humble.
That's
Um,
awesome.
you know, if you humble yourself, and they're so willing to help. Um,
Mhm.
and you have to be okay with saying, "I need help." Um,
This is true.
but anyway,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I think just not being afraid to put yourself out there, be yourself, be you, be authentic, pray a lot. So,
Yes.
yeah, don't be too hard on yourself.
Mhm.
We're hard enough on ourselves as it is, but
This is
um, I think creatives naturally are hard. We're hard on ourselves. We're our
yeah.
own worst critic. But again, we're exposing ourselves constantly.
Yeah.
Makes
This is
you feel
true, and it feels like they're seeing, like, your I don't wanna say your soul, but it, like
well. It kind of is in a
it is.
way.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, there's a strength that comes with that too.
Yeah.
Um, so,
And the
but only
fears of rejection and all of that
Mhm.
too,
Oh
and you have
yes,
to squish it constantly. Yeah.
yes, and knowing that you're going to hear no a whole lot more than you'll
Yeah,
hear yes,
that's true.
and that is okay.
Yeah.
I struggle with no's and I get no's all the time. Um, but that's normal, and that's okay, and that's when we grow. And um, so, mm.
That's good. Thank you. It's like you've been encouraging me, so thank you. I'm like,
Oh,
it's always good. I need that too. Yeah. Okay. So I remember I asked, would you mind if you prayed for the creatives that watch, like, or that are watching or that will watch,
mhm.
or just all of them? Yeah.
No, I definitely.
Awesome.
Um, Father God, I know you had your hand on this conversation all night. Um, feel like the enemy tried to turn it down in the beginning, and we just wouldn't let it stop. Um, thank you for guiding our words. Thank you for guiding this conversation. Lord, I pray for all those creatives out there that will choose to tune in and listen to my helter skelter thoughts. And just we love you, God. We know that you can use this community to share things and share truths in a way that other communities can't. Um, we trust you. Even in our stubborn days, we trust you. And we pray for all of those people that will listen, and pray for their own creative journeys, and that you use them in their own beautiful, unique ways. It's in your precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Stephanie. This has been awesome. And we made it through. This is good.
Yay!
Yay. This is good.
It was
But I
fun.
just it was fun. And I bless you, and I will be praying for your son to feel better too. So,
Yeah,
yes.
darn flu.
I know, it's like, "Go away, Flo." No.
It's so bad. But will you enjoy your evening?
You too. Be blessed.
You as
And,
well.
I will get the link, and we will be able to share this, public. So you can share it with whoever you want to. So it'll be good.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Have a wonderful week. And thank you
You
so much. Okay.
too. Bye.
Bye. Oh my goodness, that was so good. And thank you all for being here. And I just bless you all. And as you're creating or making, and that you just experience the Lord in all that you're doing, and that you are able to just feel the joy, His joy in His heart and what you're doing. So I invite you to check us out on communityofchristiancreatives.com, and you'll find our monthly magazine catalog. We'll be sharing a Q&A of this interview and another interview that's coming up this week. And I'll be sharing more about that on social media. Again, on Instagram, Facebook, we're on both of those. And find us there. And you're welcome to just reach out, ask us questions, and we would love to see you over there and to share the creative things that the Lord's putting on your heart. So God bless you. And until we're on here again, have an amazing week, amazing month, and just be blessed. Bye-bye.